Welcome to Culturally Sound. Thanks for hopping onto this episode, and I have an incredible treat to have the opportunity to sit with Gianluca De Novi. And his story is one that I can't wait to dig into and learn more about. So without further ado, Gianluca, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So as we touched on in sort of the pre-recording, I'm just interested in the conversation, the community that's built around leaders such as yourself. What inspires you, where you started, where you are, where you're going, and just hearing your story and hearing your perspective. So where did you start? What inspired you to be where you are today?
Let me start saying that I come from the middle of nowhere, which is pretty much a small town in the south of Italy, a town called Bernalda. And 1/2 of 3 children, all boys, in my house. Everything was a male, even our cat. My mom was the only woman. And with a father that could not study, and that instead has been always talking to me about what studying and what being very genuine and passionate about something was. And one of the things that my father has been always telling me is, if you want to do something, do it at the very best. But most importantly, if you want to excel, go where you can prove yourself. I was raised from someone that has been telling me, don't try to be the big fish in the small pond, but go without any prejudice and without any fear, and, find your place in the universe. Doesn't have to be the first, but at least you're going to know who you are, what you can do, and etc. So that's how I was raised. And I have to say, that's what I've been bringing with me.
Beautiful. And so you ended up at Harvard and how did you, I mean,
how is that even possible? Sometimes,
from a small middle of nowhere town in Italy.
Yeah, sometimes I think that if someone would go back in time and tell me, I would be laughing probably at that person. And the truth is that I didn't really do anything to do this. I went to study University of Bologna. I did my master degree in engineering. And now here is where something really important happened in my life. I needed to pick the subject for my master degree thesis. And I was a lot into cars, into sport cars. And, Bologna is the land of cars.
Yes.
And I was indeed going to do my thesis developing simulation systems for the Formula One team of Ferrari. And these through connections that I had there. But there was like a professor that said, I need what you can do with the simulation, and I want to show you another opportunity for this thesis. And so at the end, I went because I really wanted to be just polite. I didn't want to just dismiss the professor. He was the chief of the pediatric surgery at the Sant'Orsola Hospital. I went there. The first time I was there, I was in the operating room, and there was a 5-year-old girl on the operating table with a cancer in her lungs. And she was a terminal patient, unfortunately. And that is when something clicked in my head, because I couldn't sleep for several nights after that. And I've been thinking that, I can do many things with my skills, with the stuff I do. I was the kind of student that I had my room that was like a lab. I had all equipment, all that stuff. I spent my money on that kind of things. And then I said, I can do better than do this stuff for the automotive industry.
Okay.
So I accepted that thesis, and I decided not only what the result was great, and I decided to continue with a PhD. I did a PhD in robotics applied to surgery, continued the project of the master degree thesis, and thanks to that project, I received a recognition in Italy. And as a coincidence, there was a professor from the Stanford University that was there visiting, and he told me, "Why don't you come for a to spend a period at my lab at the Stanford University?" So in Italy, there is this possibility to spend 6 months to 1 year in a different university with a little scholarship that you can get from the government. So I said, sure, I will. Unfortunately, because of some conflict with my advisor at that time, he didn't really want me to leave for that long. He tried to create to obstacle me a little, and which is when I learned what I didn't want to be in my life. And the professor from the Stanford University, though, he had to give that position to someone else, but he said, I have a colleague that I think would love to have you. And that was another professor at the Harvard University, which answered to me 15 minutes after receiving the introductory email and literally wrote me, pack your suitcase.
Okay. Well, how do you say no to that?
And at that point, I forced a little bit the system, and I finally came a year in US, in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It was the biorobotics lab. The professor was Robert Howe. I spent there 6 months, and after 2 months, I had pretty much 5 other opportunities. One opportunity was to remain in that lab, and at that point, I still wasn't sure I wanted to stay in US, so I went back to Italy. Then I just realized it's probably better that I go where I was, and I decided to go in what was the Medical Device and Simulation Lab before it, a different name, for the Mass General Brigham. Yes, I accepted a position as a postdoc. 9 months later, I was a faculty, and 2 years later, I was director of the lab. So that has been pretty fast.
No kidding.
And since the beginning, I've been working on DoD-funded research for healthcare, helping developing certain type of platforms for improving certain type of procedures, and to train military doctors and defining standards for the simulation, for the protocols, for the first respond. So that has been, from one side, my experience. I've been teaching, I've been supervising, mentoring, and because I didn't have really easy time when I was a student, I put even more effort in that, because I know how it feels not to be supported when you're a student. And I made my mission to make sure that all my students will be very well supported from me. And I hope, I think, and I hope that I did a good job so far.
Wonderful. And what, like, I mean, you've accomplished so much in academics to suggest that you weren't a good student, or you found it, you struggled with that space. What allowed you the grit and the tenacity to sort of work through that and allow you to arrive where you are?
Well, what I didn't say before is that when I was 15 years old, I had an accident.
Oh.
And I spent 1 year in a hospital, and I was a victim of a malpractice case where they even tried to cut my leg, to amputate my leg, to hide that they didn't diagnose correctly what I had. Today, I still have my leg, thank God, but that connected with what happened when I had to choose the subject of my thesis give me a purpose. I would say it's probably the best way to encase that. It's also important to say that I've been also an entrepreneur. When I was doing my PhD, I started my first company. I literally was connecting on internet with a flip phone, and I've been selling a data glove worldwide. That was my first experience. My father lended me 6,000 euros. And that data glove, even after like 20 plus years more, I don't know, it was 2005, it's still around. It's still around on internet. So that was for me like another discovery. And I think, there are two big adventures for young people today, and they are entrepreneurship and academics. I think those are the two biggest adventure, and I just couldn't pick one. I just went with both.
So why not do both? So okay, circular. That's a project that you've started. Let's touch a little. What is it? What does it do? How does it tie into? How does it all weave together?
Yes. So I started several companies in my life, and all these companies have one thing in common, and it is the fact that I am convinced that life can now be about myself, my life. I think that when someone has skills that can impact other people's life, it's not only a possibility, but should be a responsibility to try to do something for someone else. I mean, maybe there is even an ego factor in this, the fact that I want to, if you want, leave a footprint, try to do something that is for the common good. I always picked projects where I could do something for other people. And that is the first driver of what I was doing. Just one second.
Sure.
Okay, it was a first driver for what I've been doing. And I've been working on several different projects. At some point, anyway, during COVID, I was looking at what was happening on all these vaccines that were fast-tracked, all these protocols that were not in place, and they had to be somehow improvised. I was working still for an hospital, and in that environment, I was exposed to a lot of information. I can say that I knew in advance what was going to happen. And I just realized, a lot of people are going to make a lot of mistakes here. And that is, okay, I understand that there is an emergency. So somehow you are forgiven the fact that there is, the emergency, you have to come up with an idea, and that idea might not be the best one. But what about who's going to take advantage of that? And then I was thinking, how can I avoid that predatory behavior and make sure that everybody is protected, is literally protected? That's the best thing. And that was the line of thought that made me think about, what? I think there must be technologies for these, and that technology is the blockchain. Blockchain is a digital notary, if you want. It's like the black box on an airplane. It's the black box for businesses.
Okay.
Why the black box? Because what is the black box does? Record something, but is nearly indestructible to make sure that you can always recover the proof of what happened, right? So the blockchain, if you remove the cryptocurrency element, it's nothing more than a black box for businesses, which can keep track of what is happening, but cannot be tampered. Why cannot be tampered? Because it's a decentralized system, which means a copy of the ledger is in every node of the network, and the nodes are maintained by individuals around the world that they don't know each other. It's a zero trust environment where nobody trusts each other, but they all have to agree on a consensus when there is a new transaction, a new event. So I said, this is a perfect technology. Let me use it. And when I tried to use it, I just realized, no one of the blockchains on the market could pass, compliance requirement for HIPAA, for GDPR, if you want to do in Europe. So I said, this will be a great technology, but cannot be adopted and use that full potential in this industry. simply because everybody has been thinking only about the crypto use case. So
Right.
I said, you know, I am the right person in the right place in the right moment to fill this gap in the market. The second element that convinced me to take that step is the fact that looking at the development, the state of development of the blockchain in the industry, I just realized that looking at the technology life cycle curve, it's a standard curve that describes pretty much how a new technology comes to life, is adopted, then is mass adopted, then stabilizes, and then is replaced. If you look at that chart, there is like the curve has an initial slope, then there is a mass adoption, and there is a plateau, and then it goes down when it's replaced. So today we are at the end of the initial slope, which is called a probing, market probing, and we are right at the beginning of the mass adoption. The fact that we are there is very easy to understand, and you find out because now everybody starts talking about it. It's the novel thing. Usually when something becomes the novel thing, it's because it's becoming mainstream. It's about to become mainstream. So you are at that inflection point. And I said, this is like the perfect timing to build this thing. So we were during COVID time. I literally locked myself into the basement. I shrunk my effort in university, and I built at the beginning by myself the first version. So the first draft of the entire stack, I built it on this very machine I'm talking to right now, and that's how everything started.
Okay. I mean, locked in your basement, safe place to be during COVID, especially if you're in the medical space, typically on the daily.
Especially if you're in Massachusetts with the temperatures around here.
Depending on the time of year, I suppose, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk to us a little bit more about its application and where you think, I mean, so we sort of know where you are today. Where do you think that technology is going to be taken? How do you think it gets applied? What does that look like?
So right now, blockchain is strictly connected to the crypto industry.
Right. Yeah.
Matter of fact, we also have our own cryptocurrency because you need one, because you need to pay the different node holders. That's why they hold a node, they operate a node because they earn something. And because these nodes are decentralized around the globe, so you need a digital currency that you can use to pay across borders, and you cannot use like a US dollar or something else. You literally have to have like your own medium, and then you need to create a way to convert that in cash. So we also have that, but I think the blockchain in general is offering a very new paradigm. Indeed, I always say it's not a technology revolution; it's a social revolution.
Mm-hmm.
What is the social revolution? Is the fact that is the idea of the decentralization.
Okay.
Until a couple of years ago, everything we have been doing or touching was centralized. If you think about from the government to the big corporations, everything was centralized. And what has been demonized has been always the fact that if there is centralization, there is always the possibility to conspire or to use data or to use information in a way that is not legit. When people say, Facebook is taking my data, is selling my data, is running a business, the idea that it's free means not that it's free, means that you are the product. Everybody
Right.
says that. So that is the opposite. And now there is this opposite paradigm where now my rights, my ownership, everything starts becoming important. And this is a new way to do business where there's no central authority. There is simply a network and a community, and everything is decentralized. And all the things that people say about scams and blah, 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 I can tell you 90% of the scams don't happen on the blockchain, happens on the social media.
Mm-hmm.
Blockchain happens to be only the place that where people have some money on, but social media have been used to scam people everywhere, not only on blockchain. Then obviously at the beginning the media were a little bit against because they were against the crypto. So the blockchain somehow inherited a little bit of that bad reputation, but in matter of fact, it's just a digital notary. In healthcare, how can this be used? There are many, many use cases, but let's look at a couple of these use cases. What happened to me? I went to an hospital, or someone made a mistake and tried to cover that mistake. Why did someone try to cover that mistake? I mean, if they made a mistake, eventually there is an insurance that will pay for it. The problem is, though, that even if there is an insurance that covers the damage for the patient, assuming that that is even possible, in most cases, there is still a reputational damage toward the institution or toward the doctor that doesn't want to be exposed. So there is always the temptation to try to hide. And now think about what is that the patient has to defend him or herself. What can the patients do to defend themselves? They have none, because the hospital has the data, has the logs, so they can tamper the data and they can make the data look whatever they want. I have like a friend, he has a daughter, 9 years old, goes to the hospital, a routine procedure, comes out on a wheelchair for the rest of her life, cannot even sue them because the data tells a different story. And that is an evident case of malpractice. So the idea is instead that if I ask you, would you pay, I don't know, $10 in 1 year to have your medical record certified? Certified means that whoever changes the record, it's tracked. And nobody can hide that change. Which means that if someone goes and changes the data, there will be an historic information that cannot be deleted by anyone that say that story. Would you feel more comfortable if that your record is certified and you had to pay just pennies to do that? It's a no-brainer, right?
Right.
So now this becomes a technology that protects both parties, the patient and the institution. Because if the institution did everything and is, accused by the patient, and the institution really did things in the right way, the institution has a better way to demonstrate that's the data. No one could change the data. That was our intent, and that's what we did. In the opposite case, now you can demonstrate that there is a liability. So for the insurance, if the insurance needs to pay, they know exactly what they have to pay for. The patient needs to be paid and needs to get 10 or 100. The insurance can make that estimate. But there is a new tool. They come up with the vaccines, and someone argues the vaccines are bad for you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. I am okay that there are multiple points of view and multiple ideas, and that's a good thing for the market, because that means that everybody needs to prove that things are done in a certain way. So, but if someone gets hurt with a vaccine, from the time the person gets hurt to the time that an investigation starts, a pharmaceutical company has all the time to go take the data and tamper the data and make look like everything was in favor of the pharmaceutical company.
Right.
So again, the patient is not covered. But if there is a way to sign digitally the data that is used for clinical trials, and something happens, you cannot go back and change the data to make it look better. Now it's set on stone. So if I'm accusing a pharmaceutical company that they did the wrong, they used fake data, or they used, they misinterpret the data, there is a trail, an auditing trail. So if they did, it's gonna come out. So if they didn't, they can protect themselves. If they did, they're gonna be liable, and there's gonna be an evidence. Again, the entire market cannot be biased in one direction. It needs to take care of the patient.
So progression follows money, right? And how do you get this adopted where healthcare or hospitals are opting into this system so that the patients can get that information certified? Because it sounds to me like they have the benefit of the ability to manipulate how things are recorded, right? And the victor has the benefit of
Yeah, right now they can, if they sign the record, they cannot go back and modify without someone to know that they did.
Right.
So if you tell me that I removed the left kidney, but on the record there was a right kidney,
Mm,
even if after I go and I say left, there was a track that at the beginning was right. So right now they will just switch and nobody will know that they made that switch.
right.
So that's what is important. I say, well, why will they do that? Of
Right.
course, because now there is more attention. There is more attention for the patients. And again, the first one to enforce this is an insurance. Before the regulator, there is the insurance. The
Gotcha.
insurance says, okay, I have to pay. Now I have a tool that will not allow them to exploit the system to make me pay for things that they, that I shouldn't pay,
Right.
or I should pay this amount rather than that amount. And then the next step is the regulator. So how do we get to the adoption? Well, first of all, involving people that are part of the regulation, the standardization of the framework.
Hmm.
So they are involved. Actually, the investors, the first round of Circular, are all professionals from the regulatory part, business in the
Okay.
healthcare in Europe. And indeed, uh, despite Circular is a very young company, we already also built a first platform for clinical trial certification, which is currently under validation in 3 top private hospitals in Europe. And soon there will become 5. And the idea is to start creating tools for regulators to enforce, to make sure that things go in a certain way.
Hmm. Interesting. So European hospitals carving the way for entry into the North American market, or what does that look like for you?
Well, right now, let's say this: in the American market, there are very big hospitals. I am part of one of those, and I would not go there if I didn't have at first a validation. In Europe, it seems to be a bit easier, uh, and that would help me to eventually engage more in the United States. And that's pretty much the reason why. So the opportunity was more shifted toward Europe, maybe because I also have a lot of connections over there. Some of the investors are from there, so they're involved in this process and they're helping a lot, I would say. But the important is to get started from somewhere, and I have to say we started very little, very humble. We did just a lot of work. But there was a video message that we released on LinkedIn in
Mm.
marketing. What is the biggest accomplishment of Circular? I don't talk about technology. I don't talk about product. I say the biggest accomplishment is the trust and the passion of the people involved. And that is the most inspiring thing for me. We were 4 when we started. We are 27 right now, and I have people that get paid not enough, I would say. And they do much more than they are paid for, because they want to do a sacrifice to push this project, where it's supposed to be, and everybody's there trying to do their job in the best way. And more people want to get involved. And I always say, when you have an idea and you can bring this idea to other people, and now this becomes not your idea, your project, this becomes our project, our idea.
Hmm.
So, and I always say to everybody involved in this is not my project. This is our project. This is where we show, like my father was saying, don't be scared. Go there and show what you can do, and you'll find eventually your place in the universe. So if we fail, it means that we didn't have enough strength, but we're gonna do all we can to push, and we are gonna push all together.
What having that, couple things come to mind, and I mean you've covered a lot of points, but the thread I'd like to pull on is when you say it's not my product, it's our product. That really, like, that screams leadership to me. Where what inspired that perspective in you? Is that your dad again, or what allows you to have the humility to share that vision with all that choose to follow you?
I always thought that the best business is a business that creates opportunity for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the opportunity is only for you, it's aside that I don't think is a successful model. I think that is not a good business in general. I've been, like I said, also a professor, a mentor. For me, it's important to give an opportunity to everybody. And I hope I can build a project, a company where everybody's contributing, everybody owns a little piece of what we are doing, and there is a pride. You want to be proud to be part of what we're building. Okay, I started this, fine, but now you have the chance to do your part and to be, and this is going to be accounted on your success. If we have a successful marketing, it means that you are a successful marketer. I cannot do, I started these things, but I cannot carry these ahead by myself. I mean, you need to be objective. You can be as bright as you want, and I'm not saying I am, but it is a community effort. A company is a community, and a company grows as people grow. People are not just assets that you hire. They didn't do that thing right, fire. That doesn't work like this. The company grows, and you need to make people grow into the company until they don't get what their place, what their contribution, what their, again, you can be two different things I say in life. You can be a spectator, can just look at life happening, or you can be a protagonist, right? So what I say usually to the people working with me is, what do you want to be? Do you want to be the one that is being told what to do, or do you want to be the one that wants to, even making some mistakes, sorry the word, fuck up something sometime?
Sure.
But measure yourself and see how good you are. What is your place in the universe? I think it's very important to have coordinates about where you are. And it's a responsibility that you can transmit, you can teach people. It's about you. It's not, you have your own role. If I have to, something I hate are the CEOs that have their hands in everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's not sustainable. And I think that's probably one of the easiest way for company to fail, for startup to fail. You need to find people that can embrace that mission and eventually even change a little bit the mission. Doesn't have to be necessarily the way you envisioned at the beginning, because you can find people that can give you much more than what you saw. And I think is the best thing. You just need to start the flywheel, and after that, have everybody giving a contribution. If someone doesn't excel on something, hey, you can repurpose that person, you can move it around, you can find the right place. I really have a hard time thinking about scenarios where, unless someone does something illicit, but even in that case, you can always help people grow. Sometimes you have to deal with the cultural differences, but these are things you can learn.
How do you, I mean, how do you find the people that you bring in? Because if you're looking for those entrepreneurial minded people who don't just want to be told what to do, but want to participate in the progress and be a part of the opportunity, how do you find those individuals?
I have to tell you the truth, so far they found me.
Which,
Meaning that I have my first community manager.
Okay.
Is a guy from Nigeria.
Okay.
He joined the Circular when there was nothing at Circular. He was working in the community management of an exchange that I connected to do the listing.
Mhm.
And this guy loved the project. And he came to me and I said, look, I don't have the money to pay you right now. I have to do a fundraise at some point, but right now I don't have the fund to pay you. The guy said, I don't care. I like what you're doing. I just think that this is good. This is good, especially for people like me, for people in a country like mine, where healthcare is like this. This gives me hope that in the future, eventually, there will be something that comes this way.
Mm-hmm.
I loved what he told me.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved, that you don't do that because you're just looking for a job. Okay. Today, that guy is still the lead of the community management,
Mm-hmm.
and he's taking care of our community. He's a great guy, and I can't be more than proud to see him flourish and blooming and growing. I mean, I've been there. That I'm proud if I can do something that can help him, and he is doing this job with a lot of pride because this is his project,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. So not everybody has the is can start a new project, a new company on its own, but many people like to join other projects. But that doesn't mean that they cannot be leaders in what they're doing or that they cannot grow and put their own heart and soul in what they're doing. And I even had people telling me, wow, why you have a community manager from Africa? You should have more from Asia because most of the market is from Asia. I said, I can't care less. I want to work with people that want to do the job and love what we're doing. That
Mm-hmm.
person is from Asia, from Africa, from the North Pole. It's good to me. That's all I want to see is that we are having fun doing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most important thing. We got to have fun. So it's not about my relationship with them. It's that kind of relationship. We are doing something together. Let's do it at the very best. That's it. That's the only way I can relate with them.
Mm-hmm.
I've been I had that age and I suffered from an environment where there was always someone that was putting their interests, like the reason why my advisor didn't want me to go to Stanford University because I was involved in a project over there, and that would have given nothing to me from a career perspective, but would have given funding to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason why. So when I said I learned what I didn't want to be, that's exactly what I don't want to be. So someone say, "Oh, it's inspiring," when you talk about this with you guys, blah blah blah. And I say, "Great. Do you want to know?" I tell you a very short story.
Please.
When I got my appointment at Harvard, there was an old mayor of my town that went to my father and said, "Oh, your son is at Harvard. We need to let people know." My father, all proud, said, "Gianluca, why don't you do this? They want to do an interview, when you come here, they want to do this thing. It's great." Said that, "I don't want to do these kind of things. I don't like the idea that I have to put myself on a stage for."
Mm-hmm.
My father said, "Oh, he explained this to this old guy, and this old guy said to my father, 'Well, your sons must be not that smart, even if he's in Harvard.'" He said, because he didn't understand that this is not about him, but this is
Okay.
about each one of the kids of this town, that they think that just because they were born here, they cannot have ambitions or they cannot, aim for something more.
Mm-hmm.
And then my father told me this, and then I felt literally in the only way I could feel, which is like an idiot.
Of course.
And I went back and I said, "Yes, I will do it."
Yes.
And then it's not about not being humble if you want to go tell your story, or if you think, I think that if it is a good story and you have reasonable feedback that that's a good story, it's your job to go around and tell that story, because there are a lot of kids that they need that story.
Yes. Yes. Not just kids, adults, everyone, everyone.
Sometimes the big difference between taking or not a step in life, it's just about a good story.
Belief and seeing someone else's story that's similar to yours, and that's why I love having these conversations, right? Is my community I mean, your story is sensational, and what you've accomplished and what you've participated in is sensational because you've put yourself out there and you've said yes to opportunities that have presented yourself that others might have been intimidated by. And you've had the bravery and the courage to take the steps out of your small town in Italy and travel across the Atlantic where you don't know anyone and start in a new space that can be very intimidating to some. And this is a story of encouragement for those that are pondering the same challenges. And that is so important to me that these types of stories get shared.
Well, I did this, and you're right. I came here, I had nothing, and but you know what? After I did that, I started bringing other students. For the 16 years I've been in the United States, I every year I brought students from my country, sometimes even from other countries here,
Mhm.
for their 6 months period for their thesis. And someone told me, "Why are you doing this?" I said, there's no something more that they could learn into your lab that they wouldn't learn in Italy. And I said, indeed, it's now that the reason why I'm bringing them. It's because of what they will learn outside of my lab.
Mhm.
But that is a very attractive, sexy way to give them the motivation to come here, knowing that on the other end, there's not going to be no one, there's going to be someone
Mhm.
taking care of them, because I understand that can be intimidating. And but for me, the important was to expose them to an environment like Cambridge, where every 10 students there is a startup,
Mhm.
and you know, creating connections and eventually getting involved into things. And so far has been a great experience. I had a lot of students. Some of them have been very successful, and I would say so far all of them have been very happy to come here.
I believe it. And I mean, what what a privilege, not only for you to be able to offer that, but for them to be able to participate in that. And that's incredible. One of your one of your interesting points is being associated with a top 10 under 40 list. What how did that come about? What
I
what
thought
prompted
I thought it was a scam.
that?
So this was an award that was offered by. I was selected by the Italy America Chamber of Commerce of New York, and I was approached by the guy that was at that time the CEO, I think, of the Italian American Chamber of Commerce, and then a writer, Riccardo Lofaro, I think was his name. And they contacted me. They told me, "We've been following you. We've been looking at what you're doing. You've been here a very short time, and you had a very fast career. Blah blah blah. We'd like to write about this and blah blah blah." I said, "These people are trying to sell me something." I have to be honest. You know, it's exactly what I thought about you when you contacted me.
Oh wow, okay.
Because on LinkedIn, you know, I get a lot of people contacting me trying to sell something, and nothing wrong with that. You know, again, it's again, if there is a good purpose in what I'm doing, I'm happy to do it, and it's not because I'm vain. It is really because I believe in the power of inspiring other people,
Mhm.
if that is the case. So anyway, they invited me to go in New York, and that I ended up in New York. I went there. I went in this place, and then I found out that was like everything real. I was they had like a ceremony in a nice place there in New York. Was they wrote a book with you know with with a little bit of my story, and the other 10 people. It was great. For me, I don't know. Was I that in that case I was a spectator of that part of my life. You know, I didn't really do anything about it. It happened.
Mm.
It was great. I always say that when I came in US, my life stopped being ordinary and started becoming like a movie,
Sure.
extraordinary. But
Yeah.
not because I did, or I don't feel I did anything for that. I think simply the magnitude of opportunities you are exposed when you are here, at least where I am right now. It's really big compared to many other places around the world, and Here, you literally throw a stone and ends on the head of a PhD or someone that is gonna build the next big thing. It's the density of talent, and it's impressive. I say always Boston is the Silicon Valley of the East Coast for the probably for the healthcare, but that's pretty much what it is. And I think it's just a privilege to be here in this environment.
Yeah, I mean, 1 in 10 is a startup. You're the highest density of PhDs. I mean, how could it not be, right? Brilliant people doing brilliant things. So, what does the next 5 years look like for you? Circular, your other, and I mean, incredible the other things that you're participating in that we haven't even touched on. But what does the next 5 years look like for you?
My commitment is in growing and delivering this.
Hmm.
So it's let me tell you things this way. I am still appointed as a faculty in what is one of the most important university in the world, and I'll be happy to keep being part of that community. But I decided to do what I'm doing right now because I want to bring this to people.
Hmm.
I don't want this to be on the paper. I want this to be rolled out. I mean, it's already live, but we need to build. There is a lot to build. And most importantly, there is a lot that other people need to build on circular. Circular
Hmm.
is an infrastructure on which to build applications. And I don't want to be the only one building these applications. For me, it's very important to put the message out there.
Hmm.
And it's not about earnings, because it's a decentralized network. Whenever someone builds and runs transactions, the money doesn't go to me, it goes to whoever owns the nodes. So
Hmm.
we also have nodes, for the love of God. But it's, to be decentralized, we are
Hmm.
not going to have the majority of the nodes. We're going to have a minority of the nodes.
Right.
So that is the whole thing. It's something that you build to deliver to the community. Then we can build our products on that. We can make our revenue on that. Obviously, we will grow and we will keep growing.
Okay.
But the most important thing is the creating opportunities for the others. So my next 5 years are going to be pretty much a marathon to try to bring circular to be one of the top, at least one of the top 100 projects out there.
Hmm.
And it's a pretty huge commitment,
Hmm.
but I'm putting all myself, we'll see. And I have a lot of beautiful human beings working with me. And if we can make it, great. If we can't make it, it's been still an honor to work with them.
What is making it? What's involved? What kind of connections do you need to? What kind of applications do you envision being built? What does that look like?
So let's say this, we did with our pre-seed funding what other companies couldn't do with tens of millions of dollars. And our pre-seed funding was just $1.1 million. So pennies. Right now, we are running a $15 million seed round, which would pretty much allow us to grow exponentially for the next 3 years. And I suspect that in the next 3 years already, we could reach what I am projecting as to be one of the top projects. And it's mostly because of the quality of the people involved. Very, very incredible people with incredible networks. Like the last guy that joined the project is the CEO of the Blockchain Center of Dubai. Now, Blockchain Center of Dubai is a very important institution over there. And Dubai, as you might know, is probably one of the hot points right now for this industry. And to have a guy like that, he said, I see startups every day. I love what you're doing. I want to join. I want to become part of this project. Was like made me extremely proud. And of course, we made space for him.
Hmm.
Right now, we need to try to create good connections with more and more people in the healthcare industry and different institutions, regulators. I mean, some of these connections are already there. So when we have funding out of the way, we already have some initial traction on that too. I think the rest is only work. And that is the only thing that doesn't scare us is the work, you know.
Right.
It's you know, needs to be done, you do it. That's it.
Mhm.
As long as you don't have to be worried about how to eat and how to take care of all your primary things,
Right.
the work is the most exciting part.
Right. Right. Wow. Okay. I, is there anything else that you want to touch on? Is there any other closing thoughts that you have that you wanted to
I'm going
share?
to say only this thing, you know, this project has been built. When I think about who can build on this project, I think always about a student in a dorm, you know,
Mhm.
because that's when I was building a lot of stuff in my life. And most importantly, I designed and built this company and this blockchain to make sure that every students out there could have an opportunity to earn, to learn, and to build. It's really built for them more than for anybody else.
Mhm.
So you don't need to be a company, you don't need money, you don't need to have a lot. All you need to do is the passion to build. If you do that, at some point, we can even eventually be the one investing on you with grants. So that is the last thing that I think was worth mentioning.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining me and having this conversation. There's lots left on the table, so hopefully you'll be able to reconnect, and we can explore some of the areas that we didn't talk about, and we can talk about you know, how circular's grown. So I look forward to that conversation, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much.